The Lazy Peon. What's up guys, and welcome back to another World of Warcraft video. A few weeks ago I covered a few reasons why you should join a guild in WoW, and today I'm going to show you how you can find a guild, and also show you how to make the perfect guild application. So before we start, I just want to mention that this video is to help you find a decent guild, not one that will randomly spam you for an invite and never has anyone online. You want to join an active guild that uses TeamSpeak and has plenty of events in your chosen path of endgame. So before searching for a guild, you need to have decided what type of player you are. Do you want to raid, PvP, or roleplay for your endgame content? After this, you need to set yourself goals in terms of progression and what level you want to play at. So as a raider, you need to decide what raid difficulty suits you best based on your previous experience. If you're a new player and want to get into raiding, a normal mode guild that's progressing into heroic could suit you, as it will give you experience dealing with mechanics but also give you room to grow with the guild. At the opposite end of the spectrum, a hardcore player with years of experience and abundance of free time would best suit a mythic guild. You should always aim to join a guild that's on the same level as you, that way you can make mistakes and progress together as a team. This also goes for PvP. There's PvP guilds that require a certain rating before you being a part of their core team. Just look for ones with players of a similar skill level as you. Once you've set your goals and are aware what skill level you're at, you need to decide what raid nights you can and can't attend. There's a lot of guilds in this game with many different raid schedules. Some raiding only 6 hours a week, others raiding over 18 hours a week. You just need to work out a raiding schedule that suits you. It's also worth bearing in mind that with normal and heroic mode being flexible now, guilds are much less reliant on every member of the raid turning up to every raid night. If, for example, you wanted to join a heroic raiding guild that raids 3 nights a week, but you could only attend 2 nights a week, there's a good chance they'll be fine with you doing that as long as the raid could still go ahead without you. If it's a decent guild, there'll always be players ready to fill in. So, we've worked out what type of player we are in terms of skill, we've decided what endgame content we want to progress in, we've also figured out what raid nights we can and can't attend. Now it's time to actually look for a guild. I found the guild that I currently raid with by accident through the group finder, as they needed a pug healer. I joined them on a progress run, went on TeamSpeak and had a great time. Before the end of the raid I decided I'd server transfer to Argent Dawn and join the guild, and I've had a lot of fun ever since. Joining a guild through the group finder is a really good way for you to meet players at the same level as you and test the water in terms of how smoothly their raid night goes and what the atmosphere is like on TeamSpeak. The only downside to you looking for a guild this way is you'd probably have to pay for a server transfer if you want to find one you really like, which is what I did. Another really good place to find a guild is WoW Progress, as it gives you filter options such as faction, raids per week, language and classes to recruit. It also displays guilds progress so you can apply to ones that are closest to your skill. So for example, I'm going to look for an alliance guild that raids 3 nights a week, speaks English and are recruiting a resto druid. And as you can see, it lists all the guilds that meet my criteria in order of their progress. This is a great way of narrowing down your guild searching. Server forums are probably the place I'd recommend checking first when looking for a guild, as finding one here will save you the money of transferring to another server. The server forums can be found via battle.net/worldofwarcraft/forums/realm-forums. MMO Champion also has recruitment threads on their forums in a section called Guild Recruitment, and is sorted by regions. This could be another place worth checking if you can't find anything you like on the 2 previous options I've mentioned. Another website I've recently discovered for guilds is engine.com. It has a section called Game Recruitment with over 1,200 WoW guilds currently recruiting here. Like WoW Progress, it gives you a bunch of filter options to narrow down your search. This one's possibly more in depth though and doesn't just cover PvP and raiding guilds. You can filter by factions, servers, server type, level range, classes open for recruitment, time zones, voice chat preference and a bunch of keywords where you can tick what you're interested in. I've had a play around with these options and it seems to work really well. This could be the best place for you to look for a guild if you're not hugely into raiding or PvP, as there's not many websites that accommodate for more casual guilds. I'd definitely recommend trying here if you're looking for a role-playing guild. If you go on reddit.com/r/wowguilds, there's a lot of guild recruitment here and you can even advertise yourself to guilds by creating a post where you specify what you're looking for. Hopefully other people will try and contact you if you meet their guild's criteria. Facebook can also be a place where you can find a guild if your server has its own group page, which most do. Just request to join the group and either look who's recruiting or make a post about the type of guild you want to join. Despite me hardly ever using Facebook, the rare times I do use it is to check my server and guild's group pages, as there's sometimes some interesting interesting stuff there. World of Logs can also be a website to check in your search for a guild, as it has a section that displays guilds on your server, from which you can click on and see the application information and links to their website. World of Logs can also be a good resource for guilds to recruit the best players on their server by comparing the DPS of players with a similar item level on certain fights. For example, player A and player B both have the same talent, spec and item level, yet player A does 5k more DPS than player B on Heroic Gruul. Which one's the better player? Obviously player A, and this is how some high-end guilds actually recruit specs that they're in desperate need of. The most common place where players find guilds is trade chat, and there are some decent guilds that recruit this way, but there's also a lot of bad guilds that recruit here too, so you need to know what to look out for. I personally wouldn't apply to join a guild that doesn't have their own website or formal application process, as, from my experience, they're unorganised and filled with a lot of inexperienced players. Instead, look for a guild that state their current raid tier progress, their raid nights, specs they're recruiting, and a link to their website in their recruitment macro. I'd like to be able to tell you that the in-game guild finder works great. I'd like to say it offers many filter options and sorts recruiting guilds just as well, if not better, than external sources I've previously mentioned, but the truth is, I can't say any of those things because it's actually awful. Finding a guild could be so much easier if Blizzard put in a little bit of time and effort into adding more functionality to this feature, but right now as it is, I'd say there's no point looking for a guild this way. There's just not enough options in place to sort out the bad guilds from the good ones. Hopefully, one day this will change. So now I've given you a bunch of resources you can use to find a guild. Now I'm going to walk you through the application process and help you out with what you should and shouldn't include in a guild application. There should be an application template that I've made that you can use in the link of this video's description. So when applying to a guild, most of them will have some kind of online template which specifies what they want to know, but some guilds don't have this, so you'll need to submit a Word document of some kind. Before we start, I just want to mention the point of an application is for you to sell yourself. Think of it the same way you'd do a job application. We're going to hide the negatives and highlight the positives. The more effort you put into your application, the more impressed whoever's reading it will be, because it shows you care. A good application can get a player with hardly any raiding experience into a decent guild, as long as they've put in that extra effort. If there are things you'd consider negative, such as starting the game in MOP, you'd simply put that as the first line of your raiding history, making it the shortest line in the application. I started playing in Mists of Pandaria. That's the worst part of the application done, and everything else we're going to mention is going to be awesome. First off, I'm going to mention a few things you should not mention in your guild's application. Never say, I did this from work, or I'll provide you with blah 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 when I get home. It shows you've rushed the application, and most guilds will instantly dismiss the rest of the app because of this. If you're under 18, simply don't mention your age, as a lot of guilds have an over 18s policy. If someone asks, just say you're 18. They can't really check unless you post a link to your Facebook, which isn't something I'd advise doing anyway. Never mention the word loot in your guild application, as you'll come off as a bit of a loot whore. If you can't prove something, don't mention it, as it could come across like you're lying, which is bad. Even achievements earned on a different account is not worth mentioning. Any previous raid progression should always be backed up with achievements, logs and screenshots. And finally, don't submit your application before your character's ready for inspection. Always leave your character logged out in the spec and gear for the role you're applying for. Make sure you've got the most optimal talents and your gear is gemmed and enchanted, as it shows you care about getting the most out of your character. So on screen you should be able to see the guild application template that I've made for you guys, which I'll put a download link to in the description of this video. Right off the bat you can see it's formatted nicely, contains some important information such as my character's name, my real name, my class and role, my item level and a link to my armory. This is basic stuff that you need to include in your application. Next, as you can see, I've split the application off into sections to make it easy to navigate the document. Section 1 is raiding history, and here you just want to list all your achievements and raid progression backed up by screenshots as proof. I personally don't have a whole lot of raiding experience because I didn't really become a decent player until Mists of Pandaria, but I just mention what raids I actually cleared whilst it was current content as a pug, and talk about other things I achieved such as getting a capped character of each class and getting some arena achievements. At the end I mention my Warlords of Draenor progression, which at the time was 7 out of 7 Heroic Hymal and 5 out of 10 Heroic Blackrock Foundry, which shows a big increase in the difficulty of content I'm doing in comparison to the earlier part of my raiding history. Section 2 we talk about UI, add-ons, keybinds and gameplay, and this is the part of the application where you can really impress people. I included a screenshot of my in-combat UI so you can see my boss mods, my tell me when setup, and to show that I'm keybinded. Underneath that I decided to go the extra mile and include a link to a video of my healing gameplay, which again shows that you've put in a lot of extra effort into this application. Underneath that I decided to type out what keybinds I used and what ability is associated with that keybind. At the end of section 2 I list my raiding add-ons and explain why I use them, which again looks really nice on an application. Section 3 I talk about my computer's hardware and gaming setup, just so they know I'm not playing with 5 frames per second on the lowest graphics setting. It's also a good opportunity to get nerdy and pad out the application a bit. I even include a picture of my desk looking nice and clean, which isn't something you need to do, but this is an application to really impress people and to show that you're willing to go the extra mile. Section 4 we're going to talk about talents and glyph choice, and this is something you should definitely include in your application if you want to show that you know your stuff and are aware what your class is capable of. If someone submitted an application to me and spoke about their talent and glyph choice, there's a good chance I'd consider them a much better player because of it. Section 5, World of Logs. Okay, so before I started making this video, the whole concept of World of Logs confused me a lot. But it's something that a lot of high-end guilds actually request for you to send them, so I did my research and found some great guides by Preach that explains the whole process of using World of Logs in a guild application. I'll link them in the description below, but basically you're going to want to send them a log of a fight where you performed really well. You're doing interrupts, dispels, you're not wasting cooldowns, all the good stuff. Then post a link to that log in the application and attach a few screenshots just to make your application look even better. Section 6, this is where we talk about personal stuff. Odds are, the guy reading your application will be a massive nerd. So talk about boss fights you enjoy and why, talk about the ones you hate, talk about other games you play, WoW related resources you read. I even put the voice chat software I have installed just to show that I'm happy to communicate on voice comms. This is the section where you can really show that you have a personality. Section 7, and this is where we wrap up the application and leave a few words to show you actually read their website and just to leave a good impression. For this part I wrote, "Thank you for considering my application. I think of myself as a good punctual raider who's confident to announce things on TeamSpeak if needed. I've always gotten well with the other guilds I've previously been in, and I'll have no problems attending the raid nights specified in your schedule. I'm very much looking forward to hearing your response. Please feel free to ask me anything you like." And then I put a screenshot of my character looking cool in his transmog. For role-playing applications, you could just change your raiding history to role-playing history, and talk about your favourite lore, favourite characters to RP, even show off your RP transmogs with a few screenshots of RP events you've attended, and also show the chat box of things you say when role-playing. For PvP applications, not much needs to change other than raiding history to PvP history and achievements. Talk about your favourite arena comps, add some PvP gameplay, talk about why PvP is your favourite part of the game, and even talk about your priority system when playing arena. There's a lot of cool stuff you can talk about on these applications that can really make yours shine above everyone else's who's just provided basic answers to what the guild wants to know. So, just as a quick recap, the point of a guild application is to sell yourself. We hide the negatives, highlight the positives. We prove our accomplishments with screenshots. We show that we're confident playing our class. We mention that we use voice chat. We show that we're keybinded. We add a link to our armory. We talk about a few personal things, possibly add things like gameplay videos, resources you read, World of Logs links, and a picture of your setup with an explanation of your talents and glyph choices, just to take it to that next level. Just remember, once your application's been accepted, you need to play to a decent standard to become a core part of the guild. The application is your foot in the door. It'll get you accepted on a trial basis, and after that, it's all on you. And that's pretty much all there is to it. This application will get you into pretty much any guild, even if you've had very little raiding experience. If you want to use this as a reference or a template for your own application, there'll be a download link in the description of this video. Okay guys, I think I've covered pretty much everything you need to know about finding and applying to guilds. If there's any other advice you could give to people, any more resources you can use to find a guild, please leave a comment below. I really wanted to make this video just to help people who have never experienced how great being in a decent guild can be. It's really the only reason I enjoy the game so much. If you found this video helpful, please feel free to share it with your friends, give it a like, or even subscribe to my channel for more variety WoW content similar to this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.